How's it going, guys? Casey here with the Coyote Works channel. Well, I get a lot of questions from people asking me about using a drone for reconning historic sites. So I'm going to show you guys how I use a drone to recon sites. Now, today I'm up on this old mine site and I'm in this area where they mined all over these buttes in here. So in order to be able to save myself a lot of walking and just as an efficient way to cover ground, I'm going to use the drone to recon this. So let's get the drone out and start flying it. So this is a huge site here, and this mining was spread all over these foothills here. So in order for me to walk this site and drive all these roads would take forever. So hopefully we're going to save a whole bunch of time by just flying the drone over this area. So reconning sites by drone is sometimes works better than others. In particular, the kind of sites that it works well with are big, expansive sites like this, where there's relatively open terrain and not a lot of trees and not a lot of ground cover. Places where from a distance from the air you can see signs of disturbance or signs of historic uses. So this is the DJI Mavic Air 2. I've only had this drone for a couple of weeks and I just bought it to replace my DJI Mavic Pro Platinum that I just finally crashed for the last time and broke off one of the quad arms. So as you guys know, for me, a big thing about a lot of my activities out here is just making everything as easy as possible. So based on my experience, the ease of deployment of this one is significantly better than the DJI Mavic Pro. All right, let's get this thing flying. So as I've used my drone more and more to explore these historic sites and do some of the recon work for me, I've learned a few tips for doing it more efficiently. So one of them is, with a big site like this, is to follow the roads. Generally speaking, on a mine site like this, if there was any major activity going on, it would have had a road leading to it to transport the workers and equipment back and forth. So on this site, you'll see that I kind of follow the roads a little bit. Another tip is to really focus your search on the areas of significant ground disturbance. On a mine site like this, what I'm looking for is evidence of tunnels or shafts. And anytime a tunnel or a shaft was dug, the amount of material that came out of that shaft will be laying on the ground outside of it in the form of a tailing pile. So I'm really looking for these large tailing piles, and I'm not seeing a lot. I'm seeing these long trenches, which are basically prospecting or test trenches, where they dug these scars in the ground to kind of see what the mineral content was like. But there are some more significant disturbances like right here, which could be a tailing pile and could indicate that some of that material came out of the ground. So I'm going to take a little bit closer look here, and no, I'm not seeing anything, but it could be a situation where this tunnel was actually collapsed back in. So let's take a minute and jump over to another site that I was recently reconning with my drone. So this site is more an area where I'm looking for homesteads, and then there was also some significant railroad construction going on in the area. So first we're going to search around a little bit for the homesteads. And one of the things out in this country that's really typical of homesteaded areas is you'll see these fences or rough fences made out of piles of rocks, or sometimes you might just see piles of rocks. So that's one of the things I'm really on the lookout for, is any kind of natural looking piles of rocks. There's rocks all over this country, and for the homesteaders to be able to farm in most areas, they had to clear those rocks out of their fields. I'm also looking for any piles of gray sawed lumber, milled lumber laying on the ground, or anything like that. On this particular site, the most likely area for me to find the homesteads is up on the high plateau. But at a certain point, I decided to drop the drone over the edge and search along a section of rimrock to see if I could identify any significant caves or anything in there. Interestingly enough, while I was searching the rimrock looking for caves, I actually happened to come across a pile of rocks that indicated that I was onto the potential site of a homestead. At first, it was really difficult to see that there was anything out of the ordinary there. The colors out in this country, especially this time of year in the winter, are all shades of olives and grays, and everything tends to blend together. but I was pretty sure I was onto something, so we're going to go in and take a little bit of a closer look at it. And as we're looking at it, we tend to go back and forth a little bit and try to identify kind of the extent of the signs that we're looking at. In this case, the extent of this rock wall. So you can see me kind of scanning around there, going in nice and close with the drone, and really trying to get a good picture of what was there. There's no question that this is rock wall that was stacked here by the homesteaders. So we're going to come back into this area and do some walking around by foot, because we know at this point we're in the right general area. So let's drop back down over that rim and look back and see if we can spot that old road. We should be able to see the road cut if we look back at the side of the hill. Now this road was pretty significant because it did two things. It transported the homesteaders back and forth from the high plateau down to the river, but it also was the road that transported the workers back and forth who were working on the road and then later the railroad. And before long, we can start to see that road cut in the side of the hill. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to kind of survey the road, primarily trying to get a good feel for the extent of it. In this case, I want to get a good idea because there's no way to drive down the road. I'm trying to determine whether or not it's going to be worth it for me to walk that road all the way down into that canyon. But interestingly enough, while I'm looking at the road, I spotted something else. Now this is really cool. Very cool to see something like this from the drone, and at first I'm not sure what it is. I'm almost thinking maybe it was some type of a lookout tower when I first spotted it. So let's go in and take a closer look. Now as I look closer, I'm trying to see if there's any kind of door or windows or anything like that in it. And since I'm not seeing anything like that, now I'm starting to think maybe it was a large cistern. And I'm thinking this might have been where the water was stored for all the workers that were at that camp down below while they were working on the railroad and working on the road. Very, very cool to find something like this. And this is a perfect example of something that I would have never spotted without the drone. So again, we're going to have to walk in there and take a closer look. Another place the drone saves me a lot of walking is in searching for caves. In this area, caves are oftentimes located at the tops of ridge lines or in rim rocks, and therefore it's a significant amount of effort and walking to get up to the areas where they might be located, and then a lot of time can be spent combing those rim rocks looking for the occasional cave. However, almost any kind of significant cave or rock shelter would have held some historic human use. Whether it was cowboys or homesteaders sheltering out a storm, or the Native Americans using them consistently, they're great places to look for signs of lost history. Caves and rock shelters can be really difficult to spot, so the trick is to get in nice and close and scan slowly along the areas where you think they might be located. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed that little insight into how I use a drone for reconning historic sites or potentially historic sites. As always, I appreciate your support, look forward to your comments, your questions, and above all, I look forward to seeing you on the next adventure. Coyote Works, out! If you've enjoyed this video and would like to support my channel, there is a donate link in the description down below this video that allows you to make a one-time or a recurring contribution to my channel. Coyote Works adventure merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and stickers are available for purchase at the Lolo Overland Outfitting website or by visiting Lolo Overland Outfitting in Portland, Oregon.